Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So for today we will continue our lesson on chapter 1. We are still in chapter 1, but this time it is for part 2, and then we will be focusing more on the Java itself, okay, the Java programming. So last week we have learned uh, about OOP, okay, as an introduction. What is OOP? So before we proceed to Java, okay, to the introduction of Java, I would like to make a quick recap on what we have learned during our first chapter. Sorry, we are still in chapter 1, but during our part 1 for chapter 1. So last time we have learned about the introduction of OOP. Okay, so previously you have learned procedural programming language. Okay, the one that you have learned in this particular programming language is C. Okay, you have learned C programming. So in this semester you will learn more on OOP. So we are focusing on Java programming language. So there are a lot of OOP languages. There are Java, there are PHP, there are .NET, okay, C Sharp, Python, and many more. Okay, so in this subject, we are focusing on Java only. So as compared to procedural, okay, OOP focus on objects, okay, as compared to procedural where it focus more on creating procedures, whereas okay, in Java we are focusing more on creating objects. Okay, take example of this case study. Okay, let's say we have a person, we have account, for example, we have money and we have account number. So when you write a program, okay, to represent this case study, you need to start thinking of what are the functions that will be available in that program. So at the first glance, you might write a withdraw function, you might write a deposit function, and you might write a transfer function. Whereas in OOP, you need to think of what are the objects. As I mentioned before, objects can be living and non-living things, right? So in this case, the living things should be the customer itself, and then the non-living things could be the money, okay, and then the account. So these two are non-living things. So put all together, these are objects. Okay, and then another things, in OOP we combine both data and function together in one class. Okay, whereas in procedural we separate the data and we separate the function. Okay, so this is an example of a class whereby we combine the data. This is the data, or we can say it also as attributes, and these are the functions. So we combine it together. Okay, so these are examples of the left hand side is procedural programming, and then the right hand side is the OOP programming. Okay, this one using Java, and then the left one using C. So as we can see here, okay, we have an add function. Okay, so this program is simply just to sum up two numbers. So these numbers are acquired from the user input. So in procedural, we separate add function and the data itself. These are the data, number 1 and number 2. Why I said so? Why I said that it is separate? Because it is located. This function is located outside from the main. Okay. and there is no class inside procedural. Whereas in OOP, okay, these are the data, okay, these two, and then this is the function, and then we combine it both inside one class. Okay, starting from here. Okay, the class definition starting from here until here. So the function and the data resided in one class. So we combine it together. So the terms of combining data and functions together in one class, we call it as encapsulation, right? So these are the terminologies of OOP. One terminologies of OOP is class. Class is a blueprint of or a template of an object that which is actually made. And then we have objects. Objects is actually an instance of a class. Okay. For example, let's say we have a car class of a car, and then Proton and Audi would be the objects. Object is an instance of a class. And then attributes and methods. So inside a class we have attributes, we have methods. Another term, it is just another term of data and also function. Okay. We can also call attributes as data. We can also call methods as function. So it's referring to the same meaning. Right. And then abstraction. Abstraction aims to hide complexity from the users. So in OOP, what you need to focus on is just only to use the code itself. You don't need to know how it works. Okay. And then encapsulation. Encapsulation is just what I mentioned previously. It is the combination of data or attributes and also procedures or function or methods in a class, okay, in a one package. And then hiding the implementation. Okay. So, and then data hiding. I think I've shown you some example before this, whereby I declare I declare the attributes or the data as private. Okay. So why I declare it as a private? Because I don't want these two data to be directly accessed or directly manipulated. So in order to access, in order to instantiate the value of number 1 and number 2, it needs to go through from a function. So in this case, let's say if I want to set the value of number 1, I need to do it through this function, public void set number 1. Okay, so I cannot declare something like this. Private identity number 1, let's say number 1, I want to assign it with 12. Okay, if we want to implement data hiding, we can't. Okay, so we need to assign the value of number 1 through set number 1. And then the same as for number 2, I set the number 2 with set number 2 function. So this is the concept of data hiding, where we private the data, and then we create another function to in order to create the data. Okay, meaning that we cannot directly declare the value of the data. Same goes when we want to access the value of number 1 and number 2. We cannot directly access the value. We need to go through from a function. In this case, we use get addition. Okay, get addition to access the value of number 1 and number 2. So in this get addition, we return number 1 plus number 2. So don't worry, we will learn this further on chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. As of now, it's just sufficient that you just know the basic on how it works. Okay, and then this function is also called as setters. Okay. Normally we start with the word set. Okay, set number 1. So we call this method as, or this function as, setters. And then this function is known as getters. Okay, normally it start with get keyword over here. But it's not compulsory. But it's just to it's just a naming convention lah. Okay, it's not compulsory that you need to follow every time you create a function. You need to start with the word set and get. But it is recommendable that you start with set or get. Okay, in order you to distinguish whether that particular method is setters or getters. Okay, so setters is to set or to assign the value. Getters is to get the value. Okay, to acquire the value. That's why in this note I put getters and setters over here by providing getters and setters method. Okay, that one is for data hiding. And then inheritance. Okay, so inheritance is the ability of one class to extend the capabilities of another. Let's say for this example, okay, we have 3 classes. Okay, vehicle, class, and vehicle, car, and pickup. And then car inherits vehicle. Same goes with pickup. It also inherits vehicle. So what does inheritance mean? Meaning that this car, okay, car class inherit the attributes and the function of vehicle. So it takes, okay, the characteristic of vehicle. Same goes to like we as a child, right? We might inherit some of our parents' characteristic or attribute. So so same goes to this instance. In this case, this is the base class, okay, base class or parent class. These all are the child class. The one that at the bottom are the child class. The one at the top is the parent class. So child inherits whatever that their parents have. So inheritance might support code reusability, meaning that, okay, let's say if you want to use color over here, okay, car should have color, right? So you want to use color over here. So by providing inheritance, okay, we do not need to instantiate color over here again. So that's why I said we can leverage the what we call as code reusability. We can reuse this without having it to declare over here. Okay, we just reuse it. We just inherit whatever that vehicle have into a new class, into the child class, which is car. Okay, that is for inheritance. And then polymorphism. It means maniform. Okay. In order for you to implement polymorphism, you need to implement inheritance first. Okay, you cannot use polymorphism without having inheritance. Okay, you need to bear in mind. Okay, let's say we have parent class of shape, and then we have a bunch of classes, a bunch of child classes. We have circle, triangle, rectangle. All of these classes inherits shape. So let's say in shape we have area, a method name area. Same goes to all of the child classes. Circle have area, and same goes with triangle and rectangle. So polymorphism is it means maniform. A reference variable is always a single and changeable type, but it can refer to a subtype object. A single object can be referred to by reference variable of many different types as long as they are the same types of subtype of the object. The reference variable types, not the object type, determines which methods can be called. Okay, we have area over here. This one is a basic method resided in the parent class. However, in circle, we have the same name. However, we might have different behavior or different procedures in how we calculate the area of circle. Same goes to triangle. We have the same name, we inherit the same function. However, in this triangle, if we override whatever the calculation inside this area to suit how we calculate the area of triangle. Same goes to the triangle. Same goes to the rectangle. So it is same function, but it is in many forms. Okay. Do you understand the polymorphism? Understood? Class?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any question on chapter 1, part 1? Before I proceed with 2?
No, Doctor.
Okay, good. Okay, now moving on to part 2. Okay, in this part 2, we will learn introduction to Java, and then the Java language specification, Java development tools, how to create, compile, and run Java programs, Java program development process, Java portability, and anatomy of Java programs. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand the Java programming language, know how to create, compile, and run Java programs, and lastly, understand the anatomy of Java programs. Okay, introduction to Java. Java is an object-oriented language that is built around the concept of object. So as I mentioned before, object is an instance of a class. So whenever we write a program using OOP language, we need to concentrate more on creating the objects rather than creating the procedures or functions. So the first step you need to determine is what are the objects that you need to declare inside your program. So there are many of OOP languages. Okay, so the most prominent one is Java. Okay, Java. So Java was created by Sun Microsystem team led by Patrick Norton and James Gosling in 1991. Okay, and then Sun Microsystem was purchased by Oracle in 2010. So now Java is owned by Oracle. If you might familiar with the name Oracle, Oracle is actually a company that develop database softwares. Okay. I think you have taken database subject before this, and if I'm not mistaken, you are using MariaDB SQL, right? Or MySQL. Betul tak? Is it true?
Haven't learned, Doctor.
Avalon.
Next semester.
Oh, next semester. So you haven't take the database subject yet?
No.
No.
Okay. So I think in database subject they will cover some of the database softwares that available in the market. So Oracle is one of company that provide database softwares, but their softwares most likely need to is a paid software. Okay, while whatever that you will learn in the database subject you will using the free license softwares lah. If I'm not mistaken, you will use what we call as MariaDB software. Okay, MariaDB or MySQL. Okay, Java was originally named as Oak Tree. Okay, before it is named as Java, it was named as Oak. Okay, Why? Because the founder, James Gosling, he's very like the look of an oak tree that was outside of his office window at Sun Microsystem. And then Java was intended to be designed for small computer language that could be used for consumer devices or appliances such as TVs, refrigerators, etc. So during the beginning of Java, it was intentionally used. It was intentionally created to be used for small appliances or for consumer devices, not for computers, not for desktop at that time, not for desktop, not for laptop, but more on home appliances such as TV and refrigerators. So they created Java because they find difficulty in terms of creating a standardized language that can be fit for most of the appliances. So it is difficult task because these devices do not have a lot of power or memory. And then the language had to be small and generate very tight code. Okay, take example for a TV, right? So TV is, the board is quite small. And then because it is small, and then probably the memory capacity might be also small. Okay, and then it is very difficult to fit a very large programming link, a very large file of programs inside a small memory. And then every manufacturer, okay, every TV manufacturer might choose for different CPU. Okay, so whenever we have different CPU, it might be that we have different architectures. When we have different architectures, we cannot simply use the same language across all the appliances, all the TVs. Let's say Sharp, we use let's say x86 processor, and then let's say another brands like for example Toshiba, they use ARM architecture processor. Okay, x86 and ARMs are using different architectures. So we cannot simply use, for example, we want to use C. We can't use C on both platforms. Okay, so that's why they invented Java. So they can use this Java, okay, across multiple platforms, meaning that they do not need to create different compilers for different appliances. They just concentrate on one language, and then that program created by that language can be used across multiple platforms, regardless of what architectures that they are using. So that is the intention of creating Java. Okay, and then the team developed a two-step translation process to simplify the task of compiler writing for each class of appliances or machines. Okay, what are two-step translation? So you have done lab 1 last week. If you still remember, whenever you run, okay, this is our first lab. Whenever you compile your Java program, it will create a file named .class. Okay, in that particular folder. Okay, at the beginning you only have hello app.java, and then after you run Java C. Okay, Java C stands for compiler. Okay, Java compiler, it will create another file with the extension of .class. So this is what we call as the first translation. Okay, meaning that this Java, it will create it will translate it to a what we call as a byte code. Okay, this .class is a byte code. Okay. Okay, and then the second step would be this .class will be read by JVM. Okay, I will explain what is JVM later. Java Virtual Machine. okay, in order for it to be run. It cannot be run uh, simply just by having this file and then write the Java command. It can't. We need to have JVM, Java Virtual Machine, in order to run the .class file. So that is the two-step translation. We have the first translation is to create the .class, and then the second one is to run the .class using JVM. Okay, significance of Java translation process. Writing a compiler, or we can call it as a translation program, for each type of appliances, for example, computers, mobile phones, electrical machine, would have been very costly and time-consuming. As I mentioned before, every manufacturer might opt or might choose different architectures for their products. So it could be cumbersome if we as a developer need to write a different compiler for every machine or every appliances. Instead, they develop intermediate language that is the same for all types of processors, which is called Java bytecode. So this is Java bytecode, the dot class. Okay, this one is what we call as Java bytecode. Java bytecode is not the machine language for any particular computer. It is a program code that has been compiled from source code. Okay, this is your source code. Okay, hello app.java is your source code, and then after you compile it, okay, it will create a Java byte, a Java byte file in extension of .class. It is a program code that has been compiled from the source code into low-level code. Okay, what does it mean by low-level code? It means that it has 0 and 1. It uses 0 and 1 language. That is low-level code. Okay, 0 and 1, which is then to be run with Java Virtual Machine. So this hello.class later on will be run by JVM or Java Virtual Machine in order to produce this output. Hello there, and then welcome to Java. So in a nutshell, Java translates the bytecode into machine language for any particular computer. Okay, in order for you to understand better what is JVM, please look carefully in this figure. Okay, let's say we have a source code. Okay, in this source code, we just simply print out the value of I. Okay, we have I over here. We want to print out the value of I. So later on, we compile it using Java C syntax. Okay, Java C command, and then it will create the .class file, which is the bytecode file. So bytecode will be represented in low-level code or low-level language. Okay? It's basically constitute of 0 and 1. Okay, 0 and 1. So this .class file later on will be run by JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So this JVM, you need to install in whatever machine that you want to run the .class file. Okay, if you are having the Windows machine, you need to install JVM for Windows. If you in my case, I'm using Mac OS, so I need to install JVM compatible for Mac OS. If you're using Linux, download it for Linux. So let's say this Java source file and .class file, let's say I compile it in Windows, right? Okay, if I compile it in Windows, and then I have the .class file, and then I take the .class file and then I move it into Mac OS. Do I need to do the compilation again? No need. Okay, what I need to do is I just install the JVM Okay, for Mac OS, then I can run the .class file. The .class file is already a file that has been compiled from the Java source code. Okay, so what I need to do is I only run the JVM specifically for that particular machine in order to run .class file. So .class file is universal. Okay, it is universal. You can run it anywhere. Although you are although you compile it in Windows, although you created the .class file in Windows, you compile it in Windows, you can also run in Linux. You can also run in Mac OS. You can also run in Android. You can also run in Windows. As long as these machines, okay, as long as this machine are installed with JVM. So in the previous lab, whenever you download this Java development kit, right? Okay, you already download the JVM. Okay, it's already packaged inside the Java development kit, along with all the predefined classes, which mean all the classes that has been developed by Oracle is already there, along with JVM. So you don't need to worry. Okay, you already installed JVM in your machine. Let's say you install Linux on your machine. Then you need to install a JVM. You need to download JDK for Linux in order for you to run the .class file. Although your .class file is compiled in Windows, still you can run it in Linux as long as you install the JVM. You understood? Class?
Yes.
Okay, good. As the name suggests, right? Java Virtual Machine. It is visual, meaning that it is a virtual machine located inside your physical machine in your computer. I give another example. Okay. As opposed to virtual, we can have a physical machine. So virtual machine is simply a machine that is intangible, meaning that you can see, okay, you can see, but you cannot touch it. Okay, you cannot touch it. That is visual. So for example, right now, I'm running Mac OS. Okay, I'm running Mac OS. So let's say if I want to run Windows application, I can run Windows application in Mac OS. So I have two options. The first option is I buy a new laptop or buy a new PC, which means a physical machine, and then install Windows and then install the application. Or the second option, I install a virtual machine inside Mac OS. So this is an example of a virtual machine, meaning that I have Mac OS, okay, and then inside this Mac OS, I run a Windows inside Mac OS. Okay, so this is what we call as virtual machine. So we are running both OS at a time. Okay. So basically JVM is simply like this. Okay, you have Windows over here, and then you have JVM over here. Instead of you to buy a new PC just to run Java, buy a new physical PC, you just run or you just install a virtual machine that can specifically run Java program or Java bytecode. Okay, so the concept is the same. Okay, moving on to the next one, still in introduction to Java. Java is a full-featured general-purpose programming language that is capable of developing robust mission-critical applications. Today, it is used for developing standalone application, desktop, web programming, server, and mobile devices. So, what you can do using Java is is massive. Okay, you can create standalone application. Okay, you can develop web application, and you can also develop mobile application. So if you were to develop a web-based application, okay, a web-based application, there are two that you can consider. The first one is to create an applet, okay, what we call as applet. Java can be run on the web browser called the applet, meaning that take this simple hello world program, right? So in your first lab, you run it in command line. You run it in command line, Windows command prompt, and then you get this output. Okay, this is considered as standalone program. However, you can also run hello there, welcome to Java, this output. You can run it on a browser. Okay, so such application is called as applets. Okay, applets. And then you can also develop web application. Okay, we call it as Java Servlet or Java Server Pages. Okay, if you go any website and then you find the extension of .jsp, that's meaning that that website is developed using Java Servlets or Java Server Pages. Okay, simply meaning that it's developed using Java. Okay, this is just category of Java programming language. This is category of what you can do using Java, meaning that you can create applets, you can create Java, web application, which is JSP or Java servers, and also you can develop mobile application. Okay, normally for Androids lah. Okay, normally for Androids. Okay, so this is an example of Java applets. Okay, you can also create games, okay, using Java applets. And then this is Java Server Pages. Any website that has the extension of .jsp, so that's meaning that it is created or developed using Java. And then for mobile application, mobile development, so this is the IDE of, I think this is Android Studio. Okay, so you create any Java application using Android Studio. Okay, I want to put some addition for this one, Java Server Pages. Nowadays, there are also some websites there are many websites that using Java Server Pages, but the extension is not .jsp. However, they use .do. I'll give you an example for let's say Maybank to you, right? Maybank to you, it has the extension of .do. Okay, so .do meaning that this website use Java. Okay, apart from .jsp, Java Servlet or Java Server Pages also has the extension of do. If you Google what do extension is for, meaning that do extension may be your mapping scheme for web. Okay, not this one. Okay, it's for Struts Java platform. What is do web page? Okay, this one. A do file is a web-based Java program run by a web server that supports Java. Meaning that this Maybank to you, it is developed using Java. Okay, Java Server Pages or Java Servlets. Right? Okay. Next, Java language specification. Java language specification defines the Java standard and the technical definition of the language that includes the syntax and semantics of the Java programming language. So simply put, Java language specification is the manual of Java. Okay, how to use Java, how to use certain classes or methods that comes along with the Java predefined classes. So you can just Google Java language specification. Okay, if you Google, choose the first one, Java language, Java SE specification. So head on to the latest one, Java SE 17, and then you might find the documentation. Take example of class. Okay, this one, class modifier, class declaration. So it's just simply a manual on how to write Java or how to use a certain classes or functions provided by Java. Okay. Alright, Java Application Programming Interface, or we call it as API, contains the predefined classes and interfaces for developing Java program. So there are 3 editions of Java API. The one that you have downloaded last week is the first one, Java SE. So Java SE, Java Standard Edition, is used to develop client-side application. The application can run standalone or as applets running from a web browser. So by having Java SE, you can create a standalone application, the one that you have did in Lab 1. Okay, this is standalone application. Or you can develop applets, meaning that this same application, okay, hello there, welcome to Java, but this time run on a browser. Okay, that is applets. So in order to create a standalone and applets, you need to have Java SE. You need to download Java SE. And then Java Enterprise Edition, this one is if you want to develop the server-side application. It's okay, server-side application, this one, okay, Java Server Pages. If you want to create something like the Maybank to you, so you need to have Java EE, Enterprise Edition. And then if you want to create a mobile application, then you need to download Java ME, Java Micro Edition. This one is for mobile devices, mostly for Android. Because iOS have its own language. If I'm not mistaken, they are using Objective-C, right? So in this course, we will use Java SE. Most of the time, we will use Java SE as an introduction to Java programming. Currently, in October 2021, Java SE 17 is the latest release of Java SE. So 17 is the release number. Every year, it will update. They will having updates once in a year. Okay, meaning that next year there will be Java SE 18. Okay, so if you were to use the recent release of Java, I really recommend you to uninstall the current version first. Okay, let's say you want to use Java SE 18, then uninstall Java SE 17 at the time during your installation. Because in my experience, somehow there might be some conflicts. Okay, there are maybe some conflicts or errors that might occur. Okay, next, Java Development Tool is a software that provides an integrated development environment for rapidly developing Java program. Okay, the one that you did in Lab 1, okay, you cover two environments, okay, of developing Java program. The first one is without IDE, okay, meaning no integrated development environment. So what you are using that time was you are using Notepad. So Notepad is not IDE. Notepad is just a text editor, right? So the most popular IDE for Java are Eclipse, NetBeans. Okay, so Eclipse and NetBeans originally they were made to, or they were developed to create Java programs, to develop Java program. But nowadays you can also create C program, C++ program, and even PHP using Eclipse. Okay, so it has extend its capability of rather than having having to develop Java only, they extend its capability to develop more programming language. Okay. So another, other than Eclipse and NetBeans, there is an IntelliJ. Personally, I haven't used this one, and BlueJ. Okay. Most of the time, I use either Eclipse or NetBeans. Recently, I use Visual Studio Code. Okay, you can use Visual Studio Code also. Okay, create Java programs. Java programs are standalone programs that can be executed from any computer with JVM. Okay, as what I mentioned before, if you are using Windows, you want to run the Java source code or Java bytecode, you need to have JVM installed in that particular machine. Java program can also be referred to as Java source code. Okay. You can use any text editor or IDE, okay, to create and edit Java program. You can use Notepad, you can use TextPad, okay, as a text editor, or you can use Eclipse, you can use NetBeans or Java Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code as for your IDE. A Java program should have .java file extension. Okay, .java. A Java program contains a class with a method named main, but it is not necessary that every Java source code should have main. Okay, it is not necessary. Okay, please remember this. You can a Java program should have class. Okay, it should have class, but it is not necessary to have the main method. Okay, later on you will find example of this one. Okay, until this one understood? Boleh faham? Ada apa-apa soalan tak?
Faham.
Faham, Doktor.
Okay. All Java application programs start with the main method. Okay, if that class has the main method, okay, meaning that the application program start with the main method. Whatever that it will run, it will run based on whatever that you put inside the main method. Okay. A Java program should be named after the class name. For example, if a Java program consists a class named car. Okay, let's say we have a source code. Okay, we have a source code, and then inside that Java source code we have a class car. We write class. Okay, later on I'll give example. Okay, class car, and then when you want to save it, you need to save it with car.java. Same goes like the first lab. Okay, you write public class hello app, right? Hello app. So when you save it, you need to save it as exactly the same as the class name, hello app, and add the .java extension. Okay. However, a Java program can also consist of more than one class. In this case, the Java program should be named after the class name that has the main method declared inside it. Okay, in your first lab, a public class hello app. So in this file, it has only one class, which is hello app. But you can also have multiple classes inside a single source code. Let's say I want to create another class inside hello app.java. It is possible. Let's say after this bracket, I create class hello world, for example. Okay, at the bottom, I create class hello world. It is possible. Okay, it is possible. Okay. However, when you want to name the file, when you want to save it, you need to save it according to the class name that has the main method inside it. Okay, let's say just now I created class hello world, right? So inside hello world, there is no main function. There is no main function. The one and only class that has the main function is hello app. So later on, when I want to save the file, I need to name it after the class that has the main method inside it. So in this case, I name it as helloapp.java. Although I have another class over here at the bottom, class hello world. Okay, I need to name it as hello app. Why? Because the class hello app is the class that is the only class that has the main method. Okay, another example, hello app.java, the same as what we have done in our first lab. Hello app is the class name. Okay, this is the main method. If you notice, it is quite lengthy. Okay, agak panjang sedikit as compared to whatever you write. Is as compared to main in C, right? If in C you just write it as int main or void main, or you can simply put main. But in Java, you need to write a bit lengthy lah. Okay, a bit wordy. Okay. Public static void main, and then inside bracket string args. Args is stands for arguments. Okay, string argument. Okay, so you need to write exactly like this. You cannot miss a thing. Okay, you cannot miss one word even. Okay, string argument, and then brackets. So as I mentioned before, all Java application programs start with the main method. Okay, if that class has a main method, it will execute whatever inside the main method. So in this case, it will execute hello there, welcome to Java. Okay, this is another example. It is a single source code, a single Java file named as computer.java. However, in this case, we have two classes. We have class computer, and then we have class laptop inside a single Java program. And then that Java program, we name it as computer.java. Why we name it as computer.java? Simply because this one, we have public static void main resided inside computer. Whereas in laptop, we don't have the main method. Okay, we don't have the main method. So the file name should be named after the class that has the main method. In this case, it is computer. So computer.java. Okay, understood this one? Boleh faham tak?
Boleh.
Okay, good. So we can have more than, this one is, in this example, we have two classes. Right? We have more than two classes. Even 10 classes, 100 classes. Okay, we can put it inside a single Java file. So whenever you want to save it later on, you need to choose, you need to name it after the class that has the main method. So let's say we have 10 classes. Okay, you need to pick only one class that have the main method. Okay, if you put every class has its own main method, then you will get error. Okay, the only method that has the main function should be one in a single Java file. Okay, Dalam banyak-banyak kelas ni, ada satu saja yang ada main. Okay, kalau nak letak main. Kalau tak nak, kalau you tak letak main, if you don't want to provide main, you should only put one class in a single Java file. Okay, in a single Java file. If you want to put more than one class in a single Java file, and then you need to choose one of the class should have the main method. Okay, if you don't want to put many classes in a single file, okay, then you most probably you can have the main method or you don't have the main method. Okay. Okay, you can also create Java source file using Windows Notepad. Okay, finish for create Java programs. Now we move on to compile Java programs. A compiler is a program that translates source code into an executable form. Okay, executable meaning it can be run. Okay. A compiler is run using a Java programs as its input. So compiler will take your Java program or Java source code as its input. Okay. And then what is the output? The output should be this .class file. That is the output. Okay. Syntax error that may be in the program will be discovered during the compilation. So let's say you are missing your semicolon. Okay, so when you run the Java C command, okay, Java C command over here, Java C. Okay, and then it will display all the errors that you might have in your program. Syntax errors are mistakes that the programmer has made that violate the rules of the programming language, meaning that you cannot have that kind of rules or convention in your program. Okay, in this case, the programmer is missing the semicolon, so it will display the error message, error semicolon is expected, because in Java we need to have semicolon. In Python, if you familiar in Python or if you have learned Python before, there is no semicolon. In every line of code, there is no semicolon if you are using a Python. Okay, so different programming language will be having different programming convention or programming rules. So the compilers, one job of compiler is to make sure that whatever you write is following the rules. Okay, the compilers for most programming language translate high-level programs directly into the machine language for a particular computer. So what is high-level program or high-level language? This is high-level language, okay? Meaning that it was written in a form that we as a human can understand. Normally in English lah. Okay, so this is what we call as high-level language. So when we translate it to machine language or low-level language, it will be translated into 0 and 1. Okay, 0 and 1 is what computers understand. Okay, computers does not understand high-level language. Okay, it only understands low-level language or machine language, which is 0 and 1. Since different computers have different machine language or architectures, a different compiler is needed for each one. Okay, but Java is not the case. Okay, because this .class can be run on multiple platforms as long as you install the JVM inside the machine. Okay, so the .class is cross-platform. In contrast, Java compilers translate Java program into bytecode. This is what I what I mean earlier. A machine language for fictitious computer called Java Virtual Machine. Once compiled to bytecode, Java program can be run on any computer. It can be run on any computer. Bytecode must be a file name with the class extension. It be used on any computer provided with Java JVM installed. Okay, making it very portable. Bytecode files end with .class file extension. Okay, the following command compiles welcome.java. Okay, the command to compile Java program is Java C. Okay, Java compiler followed by the name of your program, welcome.java. If there aren't any syntax errors, the compiler generates a bytecode file with .class extension. Thus, the preceding command generates a file named welcome.class. The bytecode can run on any platform that has JVM. Okay, run Java program. JVM is a virtual machine. Okay, it is visual. Okay, installed on your machine, depending on whatever platform that you have. It's an abstract machine that enables your computer to run a Java program, or specifically to run the .class. Okay, to run the .class. When you run the Java program, Java compiler first compile your Java into bytecode, which is the .class file, and then the Java JVM translate Java bytecode into native machine code, okay, 0 and 1, or a set of instructions that computer CPU executes directly. Okay, this is not directly 0 and 1. Okay, it depends on your architecture. So in every computers, there are two prominent architectures. The first one is, I think I have mentioned this before, x86 architecture, and also we have what we call as ARM architectures. Nowadays, most of computers are running on x86 architectures. Whether you are using Intel, if you are using Intel processors, Intel CPUs, most likely you are using x86 architecture, AMD included. Okay, if you having AMD CPUs, it uses x86 architecture. So in x86 architectures, I think you have learned this in computer architecture. Seni bina komputer, you ada belajar. Maybe a little bit, a brief introduction of machine language. There are syntax of add, move. Ada belajar tak ni sebelum ni? Pernah jumpa tak?
Ada.
Ada kan? Okay. That one you have learned in computer architecture, seni bina komputer. So that one is instruction or native machine language for x86 architecture. Okay, add, move, add, apa lagi, subtract, dan banyak lagi lah. Saya pun tak berapa ingat semua. And then another one, you have ARM architecture. Okay, ARM architecture mostly widely been used in mobile phones. Okay, mobile phone. If you ever heard about Snapdragon, okay, Snapdragon is a CPU for for mobile phones. Snapdragon, we have Exynos. Exynos mostly used by Samsung phone, Exynos. We have Bionic. Bionic is for iPhone. Bionic, other than that, Huawei use
Kirin.
Yes, Kirin. Okay, Kirin. So all of these are using ARM architecture. Okay, so ARM architecture, the instruction would be different. To be frank, I don't know what kind of instruction. Maybe it's quite a bit similar to this: add, move, subtract, multiply. Okay, it may be totally different. I'm not sure. Okay, because in our syllabus we are more concentrating on x86. But I see in recent years, I think starting from last year, they are slowly moving or shifting from 86 to ARM. Okay, if you follow the technology in computers, you might find that nowadays we have ARM-based laptops. Okay, we have laptops that run with Snapdragon chipset. We have laptops that run with what we call as M1 processor. Okay, M1. This is developed by Apple. This one is by Apple. This one is also by Apple, Bionic. Okay, so they are slowly moving to ARM-based architecture. So whatever that we have, whatever CPUs that we have in phones nowadays, it's being to be implemented in laptops or desktop computers. They are slowly shifting. Okay. So where did I stop just now? This one. Okay. Java is a platform independent language. It's because when you write Java code, it is ultimately written for JVM, but not your physical machine. So whenever you compile the Java code, the dot class is ultimately written for JVM. It's not written for this. It's not written for this or written for this. Okay? It's written later on for later on can be run by the JVM. Okay. Since JVM execute the Java bytecode, which is platform independent, Java is platform independent. So it's Java is platform independent. So the dot class, I'm not sure if this dot class file that you create in x86 can be run in ARM architecture. This one I'm not sure. Okay, need to test it. Okay, run Java programs. So this is an example of running a Java program in a command prompt. Okay, so for compiling we use Javac, but when you run it, you just type the command Java. Java followed by the name of your file without the extension. Okay, without the extension. There is no extension over here. You need to provide the extension, the .java, only during compilation, but during running, okay, no need we don't need the extension. Just write Java and then welcome. Okay, Java program development process. So this is a summary of how you can develop a Java program starting from your text editor or IDE. You save your Java source code in .java, okay, and then is being read by Java compiler, okay, and then when it compiles successfully, okay, it will create the dot class. If there is error, it won't create the dot class. Okay, please remember, the compiler will create the dot class only if your program is error free. Okay, dot class, and then from dot class, it's being run or read by JVM. So when JVM read it, it will show the result or show the output. Okay, I think we stop for a moment. I think we take about 10 minutes. Okay, 10-minute breaks. Can or cannot? Boleh eh?
Boleh.
Yes,
Can
sure.
Dr. Ken.
Okay, good. Okay, we see 9:30. Okay, see you at 9:30. Okay, class, can we continue?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Okay, Java portability. Right, portable means that, okay, sebelum tu ada apa-apa soalan tak?
Tak ada, Doktor.
Okay. Portable means that a program may be written on one type of computer and then run on wide variety of computers with little or no modification. So Java bytecode runs on the JVM and not on any particular CPU. Therefore, compiled Java programs are highly portable. Okay, so Java is most likely it is a very portable language. JVM exists on many platforms: Windows, Macintosh, Linux, BSD, and etc. Right? So with the most programming language, portability is achieved by compiling a program for each CPU it will run on. So as compared to other programming language, let's say in C, before this you are using DevC. If I'm not mistaken, you are using DevC. So DevC is most probably is to write C programs on Windows. Okay, but it cannot be run on Mac OS. Okay, it cannot be run on Mac OS. It cannot be run on Linux, because when you compile when you compile a C program in Windows, it will create a .exe file, .exe file, okay, executable file. Okay, you write a C program, and then when you compile in Windows, compile, it will execute. It will create .exe file. So that .exe file is a runnable program that only can be run in Windows. However, this .exe file cannot be run on Linux. Okay, cannot be run in Mac OS. Okay, because this platform Linux has its own file type, its own runnable file type. I'm not sure for Linux, but in Mac OS, the runnable file will be .dmg, if I'm not mistaken, DMG. DMG, there are several, DMG, .pkg. So if you were to write a C program to this platform, Linux and Mac OS, you may need different, what we call as different IDE or different API that supports Linux and Mac OS. Okay. Otherwise, in Java, okay, you create a Java, a source code Java file, and then you compile it on Windows, for example. Okay, and then it will produce the .class file, and then this .class file can be run on any machine. Okay, whether it is for Windows, Linux, Macintosh, and also Unix. Provided that these machines installed with JVM. So what you need to install on this machine is only the JVM. The JVM might be different for each machine. So JVM for Windows might be different for Linux. It is specifically designed for Windows. Okay, that is for the JVM. Okay, for Linux, it has its own dedicated JVM specifically developed for Linux. Same goes for Macintosh and also Unix. So Java provides JVM for each platform so that programmers do not have to recompile. Okay, as I said earlier, you can bring or you can move the .class or the .class file to each to whatever machine that you want to. Okay, as long as it has JVM installed inside it. All right, move on to the next one, which is anatomy of Java programs. So these are anatomy, or we call this as what we call this as subclasses of Java programs or elements of Java programs. Okay, in Java programs, as the same as other programming language, you might see some of them similar to other programming language, such as commands, package, reserved words, modifiers, statements, blocks, classes, methods, and also the main methods. But it depends. If you compare it with a procedural programming language, procedural might don't have classes. Okay, procedural don't have classes, might don't have modifiers. Others should be the same. Okay, so you can consider this also as your revision, because most of them you have, I think you have familiar in C. Okay, so the first one is command. It helps the programmers to communicate and understand the program. It is not a programming statement, thus it is ignored by the compiler. Comments can be written in single or multiple lines. Same in C. Okay, in Java you can write comments using the backslash. Okay, you type the backslash 2 times, and then the word or the whatever that you type after these two backslashes is considered as a comment. Okay, so whatever that you write as a comment will not be compiled by the compiler. It is being ignored. Okay, this is for single line comment, and if the comment will take more than one line, you should probably use backslash and star. Okay, so you can write by using backslash and star, you can write comments more than one line. Okay, backslash star, and then at the end star backslash. Okay, and then package. A package in Java is used to group related classes. Think of it as a folder in a file directory. We use package to avoid name conflicts and to write a better maintainable code. Package are divided into two categories. The first one, built-in package, which is the package from the Java API. And then the second one is user-defined package, which means that the package that you write on your own. Okay, so we focus on built-in package first, which means whenever you download the JDK, Java Development Kit, you already download it. It comes along with Java API and Java Virtual Machine. So inside that Java API, there are predefined classes. Okay, predefined classes or pre-written classes which are developed or programmed by the Oracle developers, and then these classes are free to use. Okay, it's similar to it's similar in C, where at the top of your code you write include stdio.h, studio.h. Okay, it is similar to that. Okay, so studio.h is a predefined file that is comes with the C package that you download. Okay, when you first download the dev C++. Okay, so same as Java, when you download the JDK, you download it with some of predefined class. So these predefined classes are packaged or are grouped into a folder. Okay. Okay, Java predefined classes. Okay, so if you can see here, so these are most probably the classes that comes along with Java API. We have java.util. This is considered in one folder, java.language, considered in one folder, Java applet, Java input output, java.net. Okay, so inside this java.util or utilities, okay, there are predefined class of date and calendar. Okay, meaning that later on you can use it in your program. Okay, you can use it in your program. Let's say you want to display the date of today. Okay, so you use this predefined class. Okay, the class name date. So this date is located inside the java.util folder. So whenever you want to use this class, okay, use this class date, you need to import this folder. So at the top of your program, you should write import java.util. Okay, so at the first line over here, what you need to do, if you want to use date, you need to import java.util. So java.util is actually a folder, okay, a folder that comes along with Java API. There are several folders. And then these folders categorize what are the function of every classes. Okay, for example, in Java util, it provide the class that function to display date and calendar. So it group into one folder. Okay, for applet, okay, to write application to be run on a browser, it is compile or group in a folder named java.applet. Okay, for networking, if your program do a lot of networking stuff, okay, you might need to import this folder or package. Okay, so you can use socket class, you can use server socket class, right? The library is divided into packages and classes, meaning that we can either import a single class along with its method and attributes, or the whole package that contains all the classes that belong to the specified package. Okay, again, inside this java.utilities, there are a lot of predefined classes. Okay, in this example, we just show two classes. Okay, in fact, there are many classes. Okay, so in my program later on, I have two options. Okay, either I put something like this, java.util.asterisk star over here, meaning that I import all the classes that available in Java util together with date, calendars, and another classes. Okay, or the second option, okay, this is the more optimized option, which is I need to specify the specific classes that I only use. In this case, I want to use date, right? So I put date over here. Instead, I put star. Okay, star mean all. Okay, I import all the classes that are available under java.util folder. Another option, I just import the class that I really want to use. Okay, in my case, I only want to use date, so I put date over here. Okay, let's say I want to use calendar also, so I put at the next line Java util calendar. If I'm too lazy to write these two statements, I can put import Java util and then star, meaning that it import all the classes including date and calendar. So I have two options. But if you want to optimize your code, you need to use this method. Okay, you need to only call the particular predefined class, but you need to know the name lah. You need to know exactly the name. You need to go to the manual. You need to go to Java manual, Java predefined, not this one. The previous one I mentioned about Java language specification. Okay, you need to have this. So it will show the list of available predefined class that you can use, along with its function, what it's supposed to do. Okay, so there are plenty of predefined classes. Okay, so this is the example. Apart from what I have shown you just now, to use the class or package from the library, we need to use the import keyword. Okay, so import is similar to include in function. Okay, you need to put it on the top. Okay, import package name or the folder name, and then dot class. And this is when if you want to specify the only class that you use. And then import, and then you can have another option, import package name dot star, import the whole package. Okay, if we find a class we want to use, for example, the scanner class. Okay, scanner class is under java.util package or folder. Okay, package and folder is referring to the same thing. Okay, which is used to get the user input. Write the following code: Java import java.util.scanner. Okay, in the example above, Java util is a package, while scanner is a class of Java util package, a predefined class. This is a predefined class, okay? Meaning that it is already there. It has been developed by Oracle developers. We just use it. Okay, that one is for built-in package. Okay, now we move on to user-defined package, which means you develop your own package and class. To create our own package, we need to understand that Java use a file system directory to store them, just like folders on your computer. Okay, for example, I create a folder named UTHM. Okay, in my C drive, I create a folder named UTHM, and then inside this UTHM folder, I create a source code, a Java file named myuthm.java. Okay, so this is how I create my own package with my own class. Okay, and inside my myuthm.java, inside my source code, I need to include this syntax: package UTHM is to define that this myuthm.java is located inside UTHM folder. So later on, let's say I want to use, let's say there is someone wants to use myuthm class which I developed. Okay, so in his program, in his source code, he needs to put import uthm.myuthm. Okay, but in my side, okay, as a developer, as a programmer, in my code, I need to define the package of my program. So this program, myuthm, I put in a folder or I put in a package named UTHM. So I need to put this at the first line of my program, package UTHM. And then this is my program. Okay, so the package statement must be the first line in the source code, must be the first line before any import statement. Let's say in this program, I want to use date. Let's say I put import over here. So the import must be after the package. Okay, I want to import date, for example. Okay, so the first, the package should be written before any import statement. Before any import statement. Okay, put the package first. okay, followed by the name of your folder, and then after that followed by any import if there are any. Okay, kalau tak ada tak perlu. Okay, so later on if somebody wants to use your program, they just need to write import uthm dot r, or specifically put the name of the file myuthm. So I put myuthm. Okay, so that's how we create our own package. Yeah, understood? Boleh faham?
Boleh.
Boleh.
Okay, good. Okay, next is reserved words. Java has a set of keywords that are reserved words that cannot be used as variables, methods, classes, or any other identifiers. So most of the reserved words are basically the same as other that you can find in other programming language. Take example in C. Okay, in C also have boolean, also have byte, char, double, float, switch case, if else. But in C we don't have this, right? We don't have class, we don't have abstract, we don't have extend, we don't have input. Okay, new, instant of, private. Okay, so these are the new one that you will learn later on. Interface, native, public, package implements, and whatnot. Okay, so these are reserved words, meaning that you cannot create any variables or method named after this keyword. You cannot create a variable named int4, cannot. Int do, cannot. Void switch, cannot. Okay, these are all reserved keywords. Java uses certain reserved words called modifiers that specify the properties of the variables, methods, and classes and how they can be used. In Java, there are 4 access modifiers that can be used. They are public, default, private, and protected. So I think as of now, you have seen public, you have seen private. Okay, in part 1, you have seen private, right? Private int radius. Okay, public void set radius. Okay, you have seen this one. You will learn this further on chapter 3. Okay, so simply put, public meaning that if it is declared as public modifiers, it can be seen or it can be accessed or it can be manipulated from other classes outside from its own class. Okay, if it is private, it cannot be accessed directly from other classes. It can only be accessed by setters and getters by another function, right? So we learn this in chapter 4, chapter 3. If I'm not mistaken, in chapter 3. Accessible by classes. Okay, this one you will learn later on thoroughly. Okay, statement. A statement represents an action or a sequence of an action. Every statement in Java ends with semicolon. For example, the statement system.out.println. Okay, system.out.println is the same syntax for as system is the same syntax as printf in C. Okay, it just simply display whatever that you put inside the double quotation over here, inside the bracket and double quotation. So it's a bit lengthy as compared to printf. You need to write the whole thing. System.out.println. This is L, not I. Okay, this is L, lowercase L. Okay, lowercase, not one, not I. Okay, in Java program is in a Java program is a statement to display the greeting welcome to Java. So whatever statement that you write in Java need to end with semicolon, except for some syntax such as for, such as if else, what else? Main. Every function declaration, it shouldn't be ended with semicolon, but most likely other statement should be ended with semicolon. And then block. A pair of braces or brackets in a program forms a block that groups components of a program. In Java, each block begins with opening brace or curly brace or curly bracket and ends with a closing brace or bracket. Every class has a class block that groups the data and methods of a class. Similarly, every method has its own method block that groups the statement in the method. Blocks can be nested, meaning that one block can place within another as shown in the following code. Okay, so as we can see here, okay, this one is class block. Okay, blocks that embrace the class. Okay, the class itself, that enclose the class. Public class welcome. This is the opening bracket for welcome. This is the closing bracket for welcome. And then inside welcome, okay, inside class welcome, we have methods. We have main methods. Okay, so this is the opening bracket for main method. This is closing bracket for main method. We can also have nested block. Let's say we have another function other than main function. Let's say at over here in the middle of this one, we have another function over here. Okay, another function, and then we also can have a nested block inside this class function, meaning that inside this class, inside this class, we have its own class block, and then we also have multiple brackets for each method. The first block is for main method. The second block is for another method other than main method. All right. So that one is called nested. There are two popular styles of writing blocks. The first one is next line, and then the second one is end of line. So it's up to you. It's up to your preference whether you want to write it this way, okay, which is the bracket should be at the next line, okay, or you want to write the end of line, which is the bracket is the next on the same line, okay, on the same line. So it's up to you, okay. But I really recommend that whenever you write the brackets, okay, make sure it is in the in a proper identification, okay, in a proper tab. Use the tab button, okay, instead of using the space bar, because if you are using the space bar, you need to enter multiple times in order to get the correct alignment, right? But if you use tab button, you just press it once and then it will provide the identification, and most probably the identification will be in the same alignment. Okay, so make sure you put in the same identification. And then the brackets itself has different character, different symbols. You are using brackets if you denote a block. If you use to opening or closing a class, and then you use the rounded brackets if you are using the methods. Whenever you are using or declaring methods, you need to use the rounded brackets to define the parameters, okay, and then we call this as square brackets. This only used for arrays, okay, for arrays. So this is for methods, this is for arrays, this is for class and methods. Okay, this one is for parameters inside the methods. This one. Okay. Okay, classes. The class is the essential Java construct. A class is a template or blueprint. For objects to program in Java, you must understand classes and be able to write and use them. A program is defined by using one or more classes. As I mentioned before, we can have more than one class inside a Java program. Class name should be nouns in mixed case with the first letter of each internal word capitalized. For example, class car, class my home. So whenever you want to write a class, please make sure that you write it the first letter should be in a capital form, okay, capital letter. Okay. If it combines more than one word, okay, for example, my home, okay, so for the second word, which is home, start it with capital letter, okay, my home. So every class, please remember, whenever you type a class in your program, you should write it with capital letter. The first letter should be capital letter. And most probably, most of the time, a class should be named after a noun, kata nama. Okay? Should be named after a noun, not a verb. Okay, not a verb, bukan kata perbuatan. It should be a noun. Try to keep your class name simple and descriptive. Use whole words. Avoid acronym. Okay, avoid acronym if you can. Or abbreviations, unless the abbreviation is much more widely used than the long form, such as URL. Okay, for example, URL, HTML, UTHM, or other organization that is widely known in its short form. So you can write it is in short form. Okay. Otherwise, you need to write the whole words. Okay. Okay, methods. Methods are used to perform certain action, and they are also known as function. A method is a block of code which only runs when it called. So method is only run whenever it is called. So where it is called, normally in main function. Okay. We have a method over here, and then we call it inside a main function, my method. Same as in C. Okay, you have a method outside the main function, and then in the main function in int main, you call the function. Okay. In Java, in Java, we combine most method inside one class, inside a class. Okay. We can pass data known as parameters into method. Okay, for example, this one. Okay. In most probably, every time you write the main function, you need to write along with strings arguments. Okay, this is called as parameters. But most of the time, we just leave it as it is, strings argument. We don't put any value over here. Okay, there is another method over here in this example, which is my method, and this my method doesn't have any parameters. Okay, inside the brackets, we leave it empty as it is. So this known as methods with no parameters, right? Method supports code reusability, which we define the code once and then we use it many times. So meaning that we declare it once, then we can call it as many times as we want inside the main function. Okay. Method should be verbs. Okay, mesti bermula dengan kata perbuatan most of the time. Okay. In mixed case, with the first letter lowercase, with the first letter of each internal word capitalized. For example, run. Okay. So for method, as compared to class, whenever you write a class, you need to start with capital letter. But for method, you need to write it in small letter. Okay, the first letter must be small letter. If it has more than one word, for example, run fast, you need to write it as run, start with small letter, and then the second word, okay, the first letter of the second word must be capitalized. Okay, something like this. Run fast. My method. Get background. Okay, set radius. Okay, get radius. So the first letter should be small. Okay, the second letter of the second word must be capitalized. Okay, that is how we write methods in Java. The main method provides the control of program flow. The Java interpreter or compiler executes the application by invoking the main method. The main method should be look like this. Okay, public static void main. So you need to write the whole thing. Okay, the whole word. Public static void main. String. Don't forget this one. Okay, string followed by square brackets. Leave it empty inside this. And then args stands for arguments, string arguments. And then you put whatever statement that you want to run. Okay. Finish. Okay, any questions? So you might finish early today. Ada apa-apa soalan tak?
No, Doktor.
Tak ada Okay. Tomorrow is our lab session, right? But tomorrow is public holiday. So I have uploaded your lab sheet for tomorrow. So there will be no online session for our lab because tomorrow is public holiday. Tomorrow is Maulidur also, right? So I've uploaded lab 2. Okay, lab 2 for tomorrow. So what I want you to do is you do it yourself. Okay, I give you until Thursday, 21st October, until 11:55 p.m. Okay, 11:55 p.m. Okay, so in that lab sheet, you need to answer, if I'm not mistaken, 9 questions. There are 9 questions. So this question is regarding on chapter 1, part 2. Okay, there are only 9 questions. It's a simple question, and the answers should be simple. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think you need to write it. You need to answer it in words, and then for 7, 8, 9, this one you need to write on Eclipse, and then copy paste the code inside Microsoft Word. Okay, 7, 8, 9, you need to write code, just a simple code. Okay, number 7, you need to write a program to output 3 sentences. Welcome to OOP class. I love Java and programming is fun. Each sentence is displayed in single line, which means welcome to OP class must be in a single line. I love Java in a single line. Programming is fun in another single line. Okay. Number 8, write a program that display welcome to BIC 20504 object-oriented programming 5 times. Okay. Use your own creativity. You can use system.out.println 5 times, or you can use for loops. And then last, write a program that display the following pattern. Okay, just write up this pattern in the system.out.println. Very easy. Okay, so I give you until Thursday. Okay. And then for one number 1 to 6, the answer should be available in the slides. Okay, very easy this one. Alright, ada apa-apa soalan lagi?
Tak ada doktor.
Okay. Okay, kalau tak ada, kita habis setakat ni dulu. Ada tak siapa yang belum record attendance?